and also to payments. Order fulfillment refers to the entire process, starting from the sale. This is where we refer to websites, up until to the post-delivery experience of customers. It covers all key aspects, such as receiving, processing, and delivering orders. As I said, the current state is that while orders are done online, the fulfillment, the processing is taken offline. Orders are delivered either at meeting points or at cubes, with payments done either by cash or account transfer with a screenshot by WhatsApp once payment is done. Now, for a thriving digital economy to happen, these back-to-basic commerce processes need to be digitalized. I'd like to share that there are two types of e-commerce, one that is generated locally, that will have a direct impact to our economy, and the other are e-commerce orders from overseas, the ones that order from Lazada, Amazon, and eBay. Now, I'd like to make two distinctions between the two e-commerce. I'd like to quote a statistic issued by Jabatan Perkhidmatan Pos, indicated that local e-commerce delivery from April 2020, and this was the height of pandemic, to December 2020 totals to just about 826. Now compare that to e-commerce from overseas. In 2019, it was over 400,000, and in 2020, that number is still quite high at 164,000 respectively. A survey conducted by ITI indicated the three most popular websites for Bruneian consumers are eBay, Zalora, and Amazon. 47% of e-commerce users said they shop on eBay, 36% on Zalora, and 18% for Amazon. Likewise, for the Chinese-owned AliExpress and Lazada, both are also gaining popularity, with 11% of our users making purchases via these portals. In comparison, I'd like to extract some statistics from our own local department stores, our physical department stores. I took an extract from JPK's data for 2020. Physical department stores were worth about $500 million, about 521 million. Computer and telecommunications was around 110 million. Clothing accounts for about 57.4 million. Now, these local physical retailers in this segment can either evolve into an online platform and get onto the digital economy, or face competition from local e-commerce sites, in which other case will still contribute to the growth of our own digital economy. Now, however, in the context of my earlier slide on order fulfillment, once you go overseas and bring things in, and these are normally called as drop shippers, all the transactions, the order fulfillment, the delivery, and the payments are all performed and transacted outside Brunei. None, our local industry do not benefit. Now, I'd like to spend a little bit next on how, the way I look at how e-commerce will benefit Brunei is to focus a little bit on the grocery and food size. Our supermarket industry size in 2020 was about $250 million. Minimart added another 40 million. And a growth in these segments will now check all the boxes that is required for order fulfillment and all the local processes to be done locally, and creating spin-offs of our own digital economy. I believe that the next game changer for grocery shopping will be the first who can get the winning formula to get on board the digital opportunity. I'd like to take two examples, an example from two grocers from the UK in terms, how can we get on board this digital grocery shopping. Now, there's a company called Ocado, where groceries are dispatched from a central warehouse, solely for the purpose of addressing online. And the other model is where supermarkets use their existing supermarket chains as part of the whole supply chain management. So just to practicalize this, if we take the example of Wah Ho, they can either dispatch from Wah Ho Manggis, depending where the order is taken from. It's from Tutong, they will dispatch from Hua Hua Tutong. So now both have the potential to be the next evolution of supermarkets for Brunei. The Ocado model is one who could be a disruptor, but it's got its own challenges. Imagine you have a warehouse distributed from Tutong and you have orders from Temburong. It'll be quite a challenge. But that could very well be a disruptor model. And the Tesco model is an example of digitalization, evolution of existing supermarket businesses. When you do digital business, as most with startups, exit strategy is of course one of them, and valuation comes in quite critical. So when you get into startups, into the digital economy, one of those things, other than looking at your revenues, you also need to look at your potential exit strategy, or you want to continue with getting, just take on the cash flow and get into dividend play. But here I'd like to compare that Ocado has now overtaken Tesco to become the UK's most valuable retailer. Its stock market value soared to 21.6 billion. And compared that to Tesco, it's not far off, but it's overtaken Tesco at 21.06 billion. Now, Tesco is worth 21.06 billion by controlling about 27% of the UK grocery market. By comparison, Ocado just sells about 1.77% of the UK's groceries. Now you can see in terms of valuation of a digital company is far greater than the multiples of a physical grocers. In the case of Ocado, it's about 10 to 15% multiples valuation over Tesco. Now the reason is simple. They're 1.7% in UK, but the technology is something that they can deploy globally. And hence why they are valued far greater. And Tesco, they can't replicate their model in Brunei, for example, or in any other country. But Ocado can. Now, this grocery e-commerce model generates a local digital economy that can spin off other peripheral industries, including mobile wallet players, delivery companies, and the whole supply chain logistics companies. The same model can also be extended to other industries such as centralized kitchen, distributed, restaurant chain network. So I'm a bit slow on time, so I'll just catch up a little bit. I'll skip this one. So I'll go in terms of a digital economy model. All right, there are two different values in general. One that has exchanges that emphasize on filtering and matching. This enables buyers and sellers to meet. It's bringing the parties together and setting the ground rules of exchange. The second emphasis is on transaction platforms where it removes frictions and de-risking, very similar to exchanges, but focus on mechanics of transactions to take place. We have some local examples. Crowdsourcing, Jana Capital is in Brunei. Most of you would know who Kickstarter is. Payment, DST Pay, Visa, and some local examples of contents, YouTube, even Progressive Media is in the game. So you will see these are the type of digital economy business models that one can look at, and I know a lot of startups are on this model. Now, it converts, why this is important, because it converts linear value chains into multi-dimensional value networks and ecosystems. Dart is a very good example as well. There's one on top there, all right? Now, there was an earlier question about data is the new oil. Now, by collecting data sets around consumer industry trends, digital economy allow organizations to analyze and ultimately predict and plan for new products and services. Now, one layer below digital economy lies a data economy. When I order a ride from Dart, digital economy happens, all right? Where I transact with Dart, but my credit card will go to my issuing bank. So now there are two digital economy transactions that's taking place, but below it, there are data sets that's been generated. So now Dart knows I travel from, DST HQ to Gadong. And with the transaction that, the banks knows that I'm someone who I spend probably about $5-10 for a journey. So, there's below digital economy, there's also a data economy that's been generated. Now, businesses and public sectors generate a lot of this digital economy, and also beneath it, it generates a lot of data sets, unlocking a secondary data economy. Now, to this end of an outlook for a data-driven economy, DST launched our own InnoConnect, a centrally managed distributed data exchange layer between information systems. InnoConnect provides a standardized and secure way to produce and consume services. Many of our conveniences of our digitally connected lives. InnoConnect can connect private and public sector organizations with your partners, your vendors, and also your customers. Indeed, it would not be much of a stretch to say that InnoConnect is aimed to be the engine powering the digital economy. InnoConnect is also a platform which supports programs under it. Innovation cannot happen, just purely on a pure technology platform play. We have our InnoLab that supports the community of Bruneian developers. Our Innovation Awards produce 4 of them. And the program put together with our InnoLab is aimed to help universities, businesses, and public sector to be more innovative. The key goal for InnoConnect and InnoLab is to help our organizations in Brunei to fuel the country's talents, especially among the youth, as they are the future generation. I'd like to acknowledge UTB and also DARE as our partner to our InnoLab. Now, if we talk about data economy, one of the greatest success stories is in Estonia. We cannot pass by and not talk about Extrot of Estonia, a data exchange layer operated by their Information System Authority. It has been the backbone of Estonian digital society for over 18 years. Again, like InnoConnect, it's been used for transactions between public sector agencies and also the data transactions between to and fro private organizations. There are 900 million transactions every year around Extrot. Now, every single transaction provides an economic value attached to it, as it represents some kind of procedure. It's not only about automation, it's not part of a bigger picture of processes. Now, the question about the data is the new oil. One can't attach a value to it. But if I take some example from the Extrot, it is estimated that about 1,407 working years is saved by putting transaction on Extrot. Every year, imagine every 1 year, 1,400 worth of manpower days, man days that is saved every year. Now, Extrot on InnoConnect is very much similar, to what is roads, railroads, and airports are for the traditional economy. Now, as a start for the Bruneian data economy, I have limited time, but I'd just like to add that, we need to have more resources trained to be exposed in data warehouse, data engineers, data scientists, use of data applications, and deriving use cases from these data sets. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit, how does digital transformation in DST for the last 1.5 years brings it? How do we bring it all together in DST? As I say, with the infrastructure carve-out, we had to revamp ourselves, and we emphasize on just one thing: the ease of doing business with our customers. Ease of customers accessing our services is very important than getting into a price war. Our friends from Imagen and Progressive would agree with this. Very suck it at the price war. And now everybody wants to get on board in terms into getting into best price, away from best price to a best service, to be more competitive. Now, our transformation exercise was to realign all of the systems, again from the back end, and focus all on the front end. After all, customers like you and me are only interested in the products and the services. I don't think anyone is interested to know what goes on in the back. But what is important that we align all our processes, our use cases, and all our product creations are all connected as part of the transformation. We've achieved about 100 days, 100% digital transformation, but it didn't come without challenges. The biggest challenge actually is not technology. Technology, not talking to each other, you can connect them together. But the challenge are in teams. We need the teams to talk about the same language. All the conversations need to revolve around transformation. Collaboration, mindset change are far, far, far more important than technology. Don't make my mistake. I was focusing too much on technology. Now, what are the payoffs of our digital transformation in DST? In the first quarter alone last year, I talked about our order portal where customers can order their, if you're not already on Infinity, please get so. Go to order.portal.dst.com.bn. I think we've come up with our own new website. We came up with our own app, Android and iOS. We launched InnoLab. By the second quarter, our app are now converged for both mobile and fixed. Then in the third quarter, our order portal can now take device bundles. We've launched Connect in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, all our dealers are now digitally connected to us. And we've achieved about 50% of our core systems on the cloud in just 1 year of digital transformation. Come 2021, we produced our first innovation awards from our InnoLab. And second quarter, the app that we had last year, we threw it all out because we wanted to build it ourselves. And just before, recently we launched our DST Pay as well. I like to quote Haslimina that all the wallets in Brunei are attached to banks, and we partnered with Baiduri with this one. And just before Ramadan, we collaborated with Ministry of Religious Affairs and also Majlis Ugama Islam Brunei to launch e-Zakat. We launched e-Zakat just within a few days before Ramadan, and we closed it out on the 20th of Ramadan. And the number of Bruneians that goes on board to have a digital product like e-Zakat. I was told roughly that the collection for e-Zakat is about, I might be wrong, it's about 1 million. And we collected about almost $200,000, about 190,000, I think, within 28 days. 1/5 of Bruneians likes a digital product. Now, DST aspires to be all of you, digital economy partner with our reach to our customers and Brunei in general. Our omni-channel strategy and also our InnoConnect can access over 400,000 customers. I'd like to summarize the digital economy. I'd like to take a little bit of quote from the Digital Economy Master Plan 2025, where Smart Nation are supported in 3 parts. Digital government, there's an active drive again to drive a little bit more of government services to be online from offline. And in my humble opinion, that gateways such as InnoConnect can facilitate these transactions. Digital economy, as we've discussed, there's a lot of untapped economy. Just because you have it in the physical world doesn't mean what is done is people's been there, so I'm not going to get there. If you put it on the digital platform, it's a whole new ball game. That remains untapped. And a digital society, as a local society, I have all encouraged you. I went to check on Hootsuite and I said, a lot of Bruneians are using, foreign apps. Please support the use of our own local app because it creates our own ecosystem in our own digital economy. It will sustain our digital economy and it will help drive local youth, giving their new talents and skills into the new digital economy. Now, one such program is, again, our InnoLab. Now, we're already spearheading our digitalization journey with our own products for our own use, and we'd like to extend the digital experience, this digitalization experiences through our private and public partnerships, and also through with SMEs. and enable Brunei to improve the productivity, innovation, and sustainability of our own digital economy. With that, I end my speech. I'd like to thank you for listening. Probably I have 4 minutes left. Thank you. Is there a Slido, or I'd be happy to take 1 or 2 questions I have about. Oh, okay. Number 1, yes. In short, yes. Again, as I mentioned, we're moving away from communications, to be a more truly digital company. That's how we can grow, like the Ocado. I mean, that's the only formula for going. I mean, we have plans to expand outside Brunei as well. The only way to scale fast is to be a digital company rather than become traditional telco. Okay. Reference on Eastern. I think number 3, number 2, I think I more or less spoke about it a little bit. Estonia is just not about the X-Road itself. It's a platform where very much to what Hasina was saying. Is where all services connect through it. But what's more important is to build use cases, and on top of it, you can either connect from systems to systems. Again, we had a conversation with our friends from NIH. Somebody needs to take care of the back end, system to systems talking to each other. Our interest is just to move into between the middle layer into the front end. I mean, beyond sales call, I cannot emphasize a little bit more than, other than say that, I have a few minutes left, but, you need to be digital. Not only DST, if you can see the Ocado model, as you can see DART, as you can see the Ubers and also the Airbnb of the world, they don't need to own assets. You can be light and get into into digital economy fairly quick. But what is important, I think, very much like X-Road and Estonia, is you need to get people on board. Yes, for DST it's easy. Yes, you can say, DST Sanang lah, because you have 400,000 customers already on your customer base. But for you to grow, there's a whole science of it. There's what we call network effects, the primary network effects, where, like, for example, if I go to this table and sell this table will tell the other table, and by the time you know it, you'll grow your customer base into the whole room. So that's how digital economy business model works. Anything else? All right. Should I address the top one? Where are we now? Where do we need to be? And do we know how to get there? That's quite a broad question. I'll skip that one. Now, facial recognition is a little bit part of the digital ID. I think facial recognition, in fact, is just actually a technology. You do not have to, you just need to know who you are. But it's been done today. You come to the DST branch, you fill out the form. It's very manual. Then I take your IC, photocopy your IC, then I look at you, I confirm this is you. Then I say, I'm satisfied that you are who you are, you say. Facial recognition to me is just a technology, but I think the broader picture is this KYC thing. It doesn't have to be manual, automated. It could be manual, of course. There's a lot of talks this morning about moving into a more digital ID. All right, I think with that, sorry, I've just skipped from one question to the other. I don't have the luxury of having a moderator to pick and choose my questions. And thank you for listening to me. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Radin. Our next speaker is Yang Mulia Mr. Derek Yap, CEO of Platform for Bots and Automation, PBA, Singapore, which will bring us through on digitalization and automation, the future industries, the future workforce, all the way from Singapore.
Hi everyone. Thanks for having me. Let me start my slide. Okay, everyone can see my screen, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so today I'll share a bit about digitalization and the automation, future industries and workforce. Okay, so a bit about who we are. So I'm from PBA, I'm Derek, CEO of PBA Group. So we started PBA in 1987, and now PBA is in Southeast Asia or Asia Pac, we are one of the top robotics and automation company. Our main business is that we specialize in precision and general robotics. So for us, we define PBA in playing in the space between the physical and the digital world. Okay, so this is a very interesting slide. What it shows us, right, is that of all the companies in Fortune Global 100 list, which are the top companies in the world, 43 of them were not part of the list 10 years ago. And out of this 2018 list, 10 of the companies are on the list today. And you can be quite sure that moving forward, only a fraction of the 10 will remain in the list. So what does this mean? What does this show to us? It shows that the rate of change in current industry, in current economy, is moving very quickly. Even the world best company cannot stay on their position for long. Compare this to the past, before digitalization, companies with huge assets would remain in a leadership position for a very long time, and they can capitalize on their asset base. But given technology, that is no longer the case. From what we can see, 52% of the world best company in Fortune 500 have gone bankrupt or they have been acquired. So why is this the case? The world is changing. You have a lot of uncertainty. You have COVID, you have demographic changes, technology has hastened the rate of change. You have changing global values, political ambitions have also changed. But one of the things that we can be very certain about is that the rate of change and the magnitude of the change will only get bigger and faster as time progresses. It will not slow down, it will be faster and it will be larger. The future of the world or the future of the economy is going to be very volatile. It's going to be uncertain, ambiguous, and very complex. Right? So now what does this mean for jobs, all businesses and policymakers? One of the things that we are very sure about is there's a more emphasis to be distinct. You cannot be one of the many. If you are, then the business or the economy will not last long. I want to show you a 3-minute slide to illustrate a bit about digitalization and automation.
One that is relentlessly efficient, works round the clock, and never complains. Robots and artificial intelligence are increasingly part of many industries. Machines will soon take the wheel from truck drivers, and companies are turning to new types of robots for mass production build. Robots taking jobs. Automation is set to cause mass disruption to working lives. Artificial intelligence and automation will help leaps and bounds. We see 45% of current jobs disappearing. But how justified is this wave of automation anxiety sweeping across the world? Are hundreds of millions of workers really ready for a jobless future? In a warehouse in Southern England, the dystopian vision of a fully automated future appears to have arrived. This swarm of robots is packing groceries for British firm Ocado, one of the world's most technologically advanced online retailers. Here, collaboration is key. These robots are being orchestrated by a sophisticated piece of machine learning. It's a bit like an air traffic control system. They collaborate on that. So if the robot wants to pick a bid that's fall down and it hits stack of bids, it just gets rid of its friends or colleagues to move all 3 bids out of the way and then it drags the one it wants. But the robots here aren't working together to replace humans. They're working with them. The robots take containers of products to pick stations where people put the orders together.
I think the job's a lot less taxing on us physically. The robots themselves are very efficient, so they take lots of grunt work out. They're little helpers.
What's more, Ocado say these robots have actually created more jobs at the company than existed before.
None of the 13,000 people that work for Ocado would have a job, myself included, if it wasn't for what we do with technology and automation. As we've found new ways to automate processes, the number of people working for Ocado has only ever increased because of the ongoing growth of the business.
A growing body of research suggests artificial intelligence and machines could create at least as many jobs as they displace. One report estimates that while 75 million jobs will be lost globally by 2022, there could be 133 million new ones.
We are on a journey to go all the time, ways to add automation. It's about teaching people to be more adaptable in terms of their jobs and their skill set, because the future is about the collaboration between humans and these technologies.
Disruption to working lives is inevitable, and insecurities will persist. How bosses, workers, and governments respond to these challenges will determine whether this new working landscape lives up to its enormous promise.
Okay, so actually this chart illustrates the point, right? If you see that in the future, I don't think there'll be a loss of job due to robotics and automation. I think there'll be a change of job, right? Everyone will have a new focus on skills that matters. Technology skills, soft skills, all these are what matters. Physical and manual labor, those are easily replaced by robotics and automation. So we will see that such jobs would decline very rapidly. So what are the skills that really matters? I'll touch a bit more on this, but one of the main things that I find that all businesses, policymakers, and more importantly employees, right, would have to understand is adaptability will be the biggest and most critical skill set. Why adaptability? Because when the world is changing so quickly that it becomes very hard to predict where it would end up, then the best skill to have is to be able to adapt fast enough and not to predict wrongly and bet on the wrong horse, right? So to be able to move when you are supposed to move, to be able to unlearn what you have learned previously if it's obsolete, that will be critical for the economy in the future. You can see the chart on the right. The difference between adopters, so there's a myth, right, that again, automation and robotics would replace jobs, to replace employment. Actually, if you look at this chart, it shows that companies that adopt little or is resistant to automation and technology hire less workforce versus the ones that are extensive adopters. I mean, Brunei is in quite an interesting state, right? Brunei has a declining birth rate since 2009, but if you look at it, the unemployment rate has shot up since 2008. So I personally believe there's a very big need for automation or technology adoption in Brunei in order for us to create more employment and, more importantly, better jobs. Not just jobs, right, but better jobs for Bruneians. Okay, so the way forward, how do we counter this fast evolving world? The way forward will be we need to have vision, because if it's changing so rapidly, we need to then understand and communicate to the rest of the team. We need agility and clarity, and also understanding, so that we have to be open to new ideas. Ideas will change so rapidly that if we are holding on to something that has been set and refuse to change, it might very well bring century-old organization down. Most of us, right, surveyed, 96% of us believe that technology would improve performance, of which 75% believe that it will boost revenues and it also increase margin. But only 13% of the companies have begun transformation. So what this means is, while everyone acknowledges the opportunity is huge, because only 13% of the world has started to adopt Industry 4.0, yet everyone wants to adopt. So if we could be the one that provides a solution, if we could be the one that provides this 87% what they want to transform, the potential addressable market is between 216 billion to 627 billion, and that is only in the neighboring ASEAN region. So the market that we can outreach if we are the first to provide such solution is very huge. And I believe that Brunei is well positioned. I mean, the Wawasan 2035, in our opinion, is very good structure and foundation for this change. We feel that it's well thought. We feel that it's well thought through. And one of the main things that we look at digitalization or digital transformation is that it has to be a holistic change. It can't be a targeted or single point change. It has to be a bit holistic. What Industry 4.0 has done, and this revolution has done, is the World Bank has stated that because of technology, the latecomers could leapfrog over the past leaders. Prior to technology, it would be very difficult for anyone that's a laggard to ever overcome the incumbent. But because of technology, we see this happening so quickly. So that's really good news for Brunei and for any other company or country that embraces technology. Okay, so I think there are many ways in which we can digitalize, but for PBA, this is how we envision the Industry 4.0 transition would look like. Again, to stress that I think digitalization cannot happen as a spot approach. It has to be a very holistic way of doing it. So I think for us, number one, we would look at Industry 4.0 solutions for Brunei 5 priority sectors. And from there, we grow gradually. Number two, I think there's a need for us to also upskill Bruneians through RACE. RACE is PBA's Robotics Academy. We want to upskill Bruneians through RACE on current day and upcoming new technology in the robotics and automation sector. Then we also have a group within PBA that's called ANTI, Advanced New Technology Incubator, in which we invest and we hunt for companies, startups, and we grow venture-built startups that are in the deep tech sector. And we then empower these companies with the tools to grow quickly. And last, we are interconnected. So for PBA, we are in 9 countries in Asia-Pac, and it's very critical for industrial transformation to not be a journey on your own. Then the pace will be too slow. We have to connect ourselves with all the other technology providers, as well as the ecosystem in ASEAN. What we have identified with a roadmap from 2021 to 2023, we have identified a few key sectors that I think Brunei is well positioned to be a regional leader. MedTech, so automated medical dispensary for Bruneian hospitals. So the idea is, could we introduce technology for Brunei hospitals and then export this technology to the rest of Southeast Asia? E-commerce is also growing in Brunei, and Brunei is well positioned because of its highly educated workforce and also its geographical presence. I think Brunei could be well positioned as a sandbox for robotics and automation technology. We could experiment and work it in Brunei, fine-tune it so that it can benefit Bruneians, and after that, export it again to Bimiaga region and beyond. All this, we need to then build the infrastructure in Brunei. At the same time, we also need to be able to build the workforce, upskill the labor, and build state-of-the-art lab. So we want to be able to bring in all the technologies in this lab, or we can call it a maker space, so that all the budding technopreneurs could come into the lab, experiment what the new technology is, and then incorporate whatever they've learned in RACE into their business plan. I think by nature I'm a paranoid, but I'm also an optimist, right? And I think that for Brunei, we are well positioned. However, we need to be cautious because the window of opportunity is narrowing rapidly. Neighboring countries are also realizing that the speed of change is so quick and the window of opportunity is shutting. So there's a lot of investment and there's a lot of emphasis on technology adoption in all neighboring countries. Why? I think if you see adoption of technology definitely creates better jobs, more jobs, right? So employment will go up. It also, in Brunei, we are not only looking at addressing Brunei as a market, we should be looking at addressing the whole region as a market and position Brunei as the center of such technology. It is the sandbox, ideal sandbox environment. The government is supportive, the workforce is educated, the country is safe and stable. Why can't it be positioned as a sandbox environment for Industry 4.0? We should then convert the investments that Brunei have in oil or other infrastructure like this into the new, like data as the new oil, right? So we should be then converting such investments focus into technologies. I think then if we can align all these factors together, there is an opportunity for Brunei to be a leader in this field. The only way you survive is to continuously transform into something else. Nothing is static, especially in today's environment. We have to constantly innovate and constantly improve. Okay, so this is how PBA's evolution has happened since 1987, and I wanted to share a bit about it. So I'm sure with all the talents that we have here, there will be other inspirational stories that we can share. So in 87, when we started the business, we were a hardware store. So we were one of those corner stores that you go in and buy nuts, bolts, and belts. So we were just doing trading and distribution. After which, we decided to build our own proprietary technology. We reinvested earnings that we have into our own proprietary tech, and we started building direct drive motors. Doing this, we then went upwards and we started to build precision robotics, incorporating technologies that we built and parts that we were distributing. Then we started to go into general robotics, where we started to build autonomous moving robots. We started to build pharmacy, dispensing, we started to build robotic arms and so on. Then we went into turnkey solutions for traditional factories and processing plants. Lastly, now we are into machine learning and big data, extracting data of the production area or extracting data of the robots in any action that they do. So for PBA, we are able to transform rapidly over the 30 plus years from a simple hardware store into where we are today. And I'm quite sure with the resources that we have in Brunei, this transformation will be much faster and much more impactful. So I wanted to share some of the key learning lessons that we had when we went through this. So number one was people. It's always people, right? In order for how we were successful in our transformation is because of people. We retrain the people that we had and we redeploy them in areas where they could deliver more value. While they were in the company for a long time, many of the skills that they had were obsolete. It wasn't their fault. It was just the evolution of the industry. But we, as a company, we were committed to train them and redeploy them. And then we were very, very focused on processes. We wanted to not give up. Actually, there's a misconception also that the traditional businesses would all be displaced because of automation. I don't think it will be displaced. I think that automation and technology should be used and built on top of traditional businesses, built on top of all the experience that humans have accumulated, and then we digitalize the experience so that it's more scalable and repeatable. I think that is the formula for a good business, not to replace, but to empower it. And lastly, technology. So we invested heavily in technology, and we were also quite aware of the fact that because of the rate of change, we can't build all technologies ourselves. We had to be very conscious of leveraging on partnership, working with others that have already gotten some headway, and then focusing on where our core strengths are. So I think with that, the main point that we built in our business was agility. We wanted to build PBA into a business that was agile enough to react to changes that will inevitably happen in current day's context. And that's why we could constantly evolve and constantly grow, because we were built to be agile. In the past, businesses were built to be overly robust that they had too much bureaucracy, too much structure, so that when changes happened, before it could reach the whole company, it was already too late. We were very cautious that we had to build the business to be agile and not robust. Okay, so an example of what we have done, is it playing? Okay, so if you can see, we took out some of the examples of the technologies that we have done. PBA, we empower traditional businesses. We empower them with the tools to transform and digitalize. So if you can see from here, we are talking about cleaning industry, where we changed from traditional cleaning into UV disinfection robots. We help companies that were previously hiring cleaners into deployment of robots to do disinfection. Letterbox. So we work together with the Singapore Postal SingPost, and they are a company that existed since 1819, right? So they're a very old company. Yet we empower them into reimagining how the postal system work. No longer do the mailmen have to go up to each house to drop the parcels or drop the mails. They just put it in the letterbox, and the letterbox would sort out the mails, and the letterbox would ping each resident to collect, saving time and also redeploying this mailman to other jobs. Security solutions. Security guards that were walking around and patrolling the sites. Now, instead of that, they control the robot, and the robot would tirelessly patrol the site 24/7. When they spot something, then they will trigger the human, and the human will go and handle the situation. But if not, the constant patrolling is done by security. Cleaning services. So the cleaning services now, in order for them to do reporting back to the clients, they no longer fill out forms or send emails. They have it done on an app, so that it's real time with timestamp and also photo proof. And jobs will be dynamically allocated to the cleaners so that they don't have to constantly check in and report back to HQ. They could just go straight to site and know exactly what to do. So all of these are examples in which PBA have empowered companies that are traditional, but they have the impetus to change. And then we just empower them with technology and tools to change. And these companies are now growing, and they're hiring and recruiting more people because their business is just booming. Okay, so I'd like to end with this statement. Best practices don't make you the best. They just make you average, because everyone else is following them. So we really have to be thinking out of the box, challenging ourselves and disrupting ourselves. Thank you.
Due to time constraints, we will not have a Q&A session. Thank you, Mr. Derek, for joining with us all the way from Singapore.
Thank you, everyone.
Next, we would like to invite our moderator, Mr. Ruben Chin, Startup Development Manager from Darussalam Enterprise, to kick off the next session on the topic Digitalization and Automation, Opportunities and Challenges in Digital Transformation. The stage is yours, Mr. Ruben Chin.
Good morning, everyone. I understand that we are the last thing standing between you and lunch. Totally get it. We are also running a little bit short on time. But we'd like to do a little quick exercise before we start. Can everyone please stand up? Because we are all falling asleep. Please stand up. Now look at the person on your left or your right. If you're comfortable with that person, give them a shoulder massage. Go for it, shoulder massage. Right? If you've gotten your shoulder massage, now return the favor. Don't be selfish, return the favor. Good, and if I can you all give me one single clap? Let's go together. 1, 2, 3. We'll get better at it. Thank you very much. Please take a seat. So my name is Ruben, and I'm delighted and honored to be moderating this next session on opportunities and challenges in digital transformation. We will discuss the following big, broad topics. Number 1, what exactly is digital transformation? And what are some of the use cases around this region? Number 2, how ready is Brunei from a commercial angle for digital transformation? And number 3, change brings uncertainty. So what can we as a nation do to not only survive, but thrive in this new digital economy? Joining me today are our esteemed panelists. Dialing in from Singapore are the two gentlemen behind me. There is Mr. Lu Shangguo, CEO and founder of SG Lab. Mr. Kamal Karmakar, CEO of City Access. And next to me on the ground is Mr. Rahman Yunus, co-founder of Think Access. Over the next 20 minutes, we will hear from some of our panelists remotely. Due to some technical glitches, I heard from Rahman earlier on that usually when they speak, there's a 2.75 lag. So let's not ask questions during the time. We'll save our questions for the Q&A session. If you have a burning question, please save the question for later. If it's super burning, put it on Slido, but make sure it's polite. If you're shy, ask the person next to you to ask. So, to begin with, let's get Mr. Lu Shangguo to speak about what exactly is digital transformation. SG Lab's area of expertise is in ultra-low power AIoT solutions for off-the-grid applications in challenging environments. Basically, where UNN doesn't go, they can go. I've had the chance to speak with Shangguo about his experiences of implementing AIoT for some very interesting use cases. Now, if you agree with me that this is an interesting case, might I get one clap? Use case number, oh, not yet. Okay, relax. Okay, use case number 1, illegal border crossing. Interesting? Interesting, one clap lah. We'll get better at it. Number 2, forestry eco-management. Yeah. Number 3, digitalization in the energy sector. But I chose not to talk about any of them. I've asked him to speak about something called digital water. Thanks for the support, guys. Shangguo, the stage is yours.
Hi, a very good morning. Thank you, Mr. Ruben Chen, for the kind introduction. A very good morning to all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Shangguo. I'm very glad to be here today to share our experiences in digitalization. So I will start with the trends and challenges from my personal perspective, and then I will introduce our enabling technology, that's the self-sufficient connectivity and the end-to-end IoT solution, followed by our supporters and adopters. And then I will go on to share 2 of the use cases in digital water, as well as smart garden and agriculture. And then I will end with a reflection notes on how we go about for digitalization. Okay, so here is a plantation in central Kalimantan. The size is about 70,000 hectares over here on the screen. That's exactly about the size of Singapore. But over here, there are only 10,000 workers. In Singapore, we have 6 million people. So therefore, it's commercially not viable to have any basic infrastructure in these kind of remote places. But on the other hand, there's a strong push for digitalization to support the growth of the customer and to achieve sustainability. Similar to remote agriculture, there are a lot of the oil and gas, maritime, as well as the underground mining are lagging behind in infrastructure. In fact, according to Microsoft research, there is more than half the world is not connected to the internet. That is creating and widening the digital divide between the urban and the remote. Even in places in the urban, there are a lot of challenges to achieve seamless connectivities for massive IoT deployment. For example, in the leaf lobby, underground, and in the drainages as rivers. And the cost and size and power consumption of the telco-based solutions may result in very high total cost of ownership in terms of high capex and high operating costs that prohibit the effective applications of new technology. So to sum up, adequate infrastructure and connectivity are essential to support the digitalization effort. And in addition to that, the population must believe in the benefit of the technology and must be willing to embrace it. Lastly, as a technology company, it's our job to constantly innovate to bring up solutions that must be simple enough for the workers to adopt and to create significant business value for the management to justify the total cost of ownership and the investment. So as a technology company, we are looking at all the challenges holistically and created a suite of simple to use solutions that enable good business outcome. So first, a seamless connectivity solution. So over here is a self-sufficient connectivity that does not rely on any basic infrastructure support. And upon installation, all the sensors will start to communicate with each other by itself and repair by itself in the event of any failure. So it is self-sufficient, powered by a very small solar panel. And then you also at the same time have multiple layers of security to ensure the accuracy and integrity of the data. So this is our enabling technology for IoT anywhere and supports both NORA as well as mesh topology. So here it goes. This is in fact our Revision 4 hardware with our core technology. It has secure wide area wireless network in mesh and NORA, consumes very little power, support all the sensors, controllers, and actuators by our partners, and it has a secure connectivity to the cloud. So connecting to the controlled main network nodes over here, we have all kinds of sensors supported by our partners in the air quality and climate sensors, soil sensors, as well as water management sensors. And we are actually working closely with our A-Star on each sensors to meet our customers' requirement. For example, over here, the NP and K sensors are in the final stage of field testing, and this is actually first of its kind in the world. Internally, we also do a lot of edge AI development to support efficient data connection and data entry. So first one is actually a fully buried security sensor to detect illegal trespassing. And then we have an AI-enabled activity tracker. We have intelligent harvesting accounting app for the palm oil companies. We have automatic AI-enabled meter reading. We have road inspection apps that detect the cracks on the road and generate reports automatically. And all the information actually sent through our secure connectivity and to intuitive cloud. And all the solution here supports, end of the day, you have automatic data-driven control to control the actuators as well as the controllers. And then analytics actually, end of the day, the analytics supports the productivity and efficiency gain and help the company to achieve sustainability and open up new business opportunities. So we actually, the company is still quite young. We started our deployment since 2018, and the sensors and network are proven to be very robust and survived the adverse weather conditions in the tropical forest in Kalimantan, Pekanbaru, and since the COVID start, we have quite a number of implementation domestically as well. So along the way, we have wonderful support from Enterprise Singapore, and we are actually working very closely with GovTech to ensure that the connectivity from our edge to cloud is secure enough. And as I mentioned earlier, we are working closely with A-Star. At the moment, we are also working with our PUB and MPA for project in water management and maritime digitalization for energy-related services. We started in palm oil, so we have a number of projects in palm oil estates as well. So again, our system has been deployed since 2018, and today I'm going to just to share two of the use cases in digital river management as well as the smart agriculture. So the river and banks are actually a biologically balanced ecosystem that the efficiency or the excess of any one of the biotic or abiotic parameters will result in an imbalanced ecosystem that may have a devastating effect when any one of the parameters is falling below or going above the desired range. And the human activities are actually the culprit of all the issues over here. We are the main contributors of all the pollutants in the river. So it is therefore very important to have a kind of sensors to monitor our factory activities, the air quality, as well as the climate conditions, to build data models for quality prediction and forecasting in the river. And a real-time in-situ monitoring will help to report any black swan events over here. And end of the day, we can build models to forecast and to do early prevention of devastating events and fine-tune real-time decision for water treatment regime. Okay, so this is a snapshot from our dashboard. It presents very interesting events, algae blooming event in one of our installation sites. So the blue line is the chlorophyll over here. The green is the green algae sensor, the reading from the green algae. And then the orange is actually the dissolved oxygen in the water. So everything was going very well before end March. The reading, everything was going very well. And then suddenly we experienced some changes in the chlorophyll level. And then the algae start to have, sensors start to report some spiky events over here. So we believe those are free-flowing algae in the river that from time to time come into close contact with the sensor and reported a spike in the reading. And then after that, we reported a very high oxygen level and very high algae content in the river. This is due to the exponential growth in the river. And then we end up with a total complete biological breakdown in the river, and the algae, everything start to die in the stream. Yeah. So for agriculture, there are four main pillars for a healthy plant. Basically, there are sunlight, water, nutrient, and air. This is very basic. So we cannot control sunlight, but the sunlight determines the water and nutrient needs. So the deficiency and excess of the nutrient and water are bad for the health of the plant. So the real-time data actually can help us to detect the stress earlier, and the accumulation of data help us to build a data model that to do forecasting of the bad events and early prevention, and for facilitate planning as well. And big data analytics actually help us to optimize the abiotic growing conditions and basically to digitize experience and maximize, optimize our experience. And then to support data-driven decision in automation as well as automatic irrigation over here. So another snapshot of our data. So this is actually captured from a very well-maintained garden, one of the best gardens in the world. So there's a maximum water capacity in the soil that can, at a measuring site, which is about 36%. And then if the soil moisture falls below 18%, which is about half of the field capacity, it is an indication of water deficiency. So in this case, the plant, the worker didn't do his job, and the plants actually suffered a lot during this period. So we told the manager about this issue, and the irrigation was well taken off. And after that, you see that every day it was irrigated very well. And simple GPS tracking like this also help to extract a lot of useful information to help to improve the productivity and drive the performance gain. So lastly, please allow me to end my sharing with some reflections on digitization. So digitalization actually is an operational necessity. So with simple digitalization, it helps to deliver operational excellence. And then the technology itself actually comes with a lot of new opportunities through this digital transformation. So unfortunately, companies that are not digitized have little hope of becoming digital. So imagine we are all the small caterpillars here. We want to become a butterfly. At the end of the day, there are many small painful steps that we need to take in order to transform ourselves. So take a small step today and start digitizing. Yeah, so I'm Shan Guo. Thank you very much for your attention today. Yeah.
Thank you, Shanko. Shanko, for your information, while you were speaking about the caterpillar, I think Rahman and I were blocking the caterpillar. They can only see the butterflies.
I think I see you.
The next question that's on my mind is, how ready from a commercial angle is Brunei for digital transformation? From this angle, CityAxis is a specialist provider of software for retail and hospitality industries. Under Mr. Kamal Karmakar's leadership, CityAxis secured $105 million in investment and also bagged several prestigious technology awards while he is at it. Kamal himself counsels executives at high-growth companies on high-level business strategies and has an excellent track record of helping management teams achieve bottom-line results. Kamal is a graduate of Harvard Business School and sits on the board of several global companies, including being a member of the SAP Advisory Council for Business One in Germany. Kamal.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ruben. So first of all, I think I don't want to stay between the lunch and the audience. That's very important. So I will try to wrap up today's discussion in lesser time than we budgeted, and essentially talk about only 3 slides. The slides are available with you, and the audience can take them. Let's touch base very highly about what exactly is digital transformation. And this is our business. So we operate in around 22 countries. We have customers in 100+ countries. And essentially, we take businesses online, make sure that the different processes are connected, and digitally transform them. Now, talking about digital transformation, let me talk about the behavior, how human behavior may have changed in last 20 years. So think about 20 years back, you would wake up in the morning, take a newspaper, read a newspaper, and consume that news by holding a newspaper in your hand. But today, you take a phone and you read the same news on phone, right? So you're consuming the same information in a completely different model. So if newspaper industries did not transform their businesses in digitally and went digital, then they essentially will be out of competition and eventually go away from business. So digital transformation, when we talk about digital transformation, that essentially is connecting different business processes, different processes of your businesses digitally, and integrating all these different technology solutions you may have. Very importantly, whenever you're looking at digital transformation and transforming your business, there are 3 actors that you have to always remember. Every business, large or small, has 3 actors: your customers, your vendors, and your employees. Digital transformation is the process of integrating all 3 of them. That's essentially what digitalization is, what automation is. Whatever you do, you connect all 3 actors together in the digital transformation phase. Why it is important? Just to stay profitable. You want to stay in business, you want to compete in the global industry, you want to stay efficient, you need to ensure that that you adopt digital transformation. If you do not adopt today, while the consumer behavior is changing, it will be too late for you. Saying so, this is the last slide I will talk about, and after this we also talk about different processes, what you should do. I will share these slides with everyone. Please go ahead and you can connect me later. Very quickly, the challenges that you have in digitalization and digital transformation today is yourself, your business. The old guards, the people who have been running the business, different departments, they do not want to integrate. Or you have different technologies running different departments, no way of integrating them, or department heads don't want to integrate them. lack of foresight and knowledge. So most of the challenges of digital transformation essentially stays within the business. For any company today to grow, you need to transform your business. You need to consume different technologies from different parts to make your business more efficient and essentially transform the business toward growth. So with that, I will stop here, Ruben, knowing that there's lunchtime coming up. And if you have any question, let's talk about that.
Much appreciated, Kamal. Thank you very much, Kamal.
You're welcome.
Now, we've got about 20 more minutes left together before we all have to leave the hall. On my left here is Mr. Rahman Yunus. Rahman and I have a bit of history. Rahman is the co-founder of a company called ThinkAxis. ThinkAxis was an incubator at iCenter, and I had just overtaken the portfolio, then he left. It seems like maybe Rahman didn't like me very much. But he's stuck with me on screen today. And as all of you are looking past us, actually Rahman and I have a bit of an awkward moment because we don't know if you're looking at us or looking at them. But right now, we know you're looking at us. Rahman, from a local level, we've heard from Sangguo about what he's doing in Sumatra and Jakarta, in Balikpapan, and we've heard from Kamal about what needs to happen from a commercial angle. From your angle, as a Bruneian entrepreneur, or an entrepreneur who is on the ground in Brunei, what are some of the use cases of digitalization that we've seen in Brunei?
Sure. Assalamu alaikum. Thanks everybody for the opportunity. It's such a privilege to speak about digitization and automation from a Brunei perspective. The go-to use case is BruHealth, right? Nothing can beat that, and we are kind of like it become part of our daily lifestyle. So how BruHealth facilitated digitization, and there is so many more automation possibilities in the background, is that the enrollment of the BruHealth was made digital, and it was decentralized. We could use our own smartphones to do that. The data collection was also digitized, except in some cases where if your phone is not working, we write it down. So BruHealth is kind of like the ideal use case of how digitization and automation can be implemented in Brunei. So secondly, I would like to share our own perspective on our own implementation. One of our customers, an F&B retail outlet that has about 26 outlets spread throughout Brunei.
Hang on. That's he said F&B outlet with 26 branches in Brunei. Anyone want to guess which F&B outlet is this? Pizza Hut?
No, it's not Pizza Hut.
It's not Pizza Hut. KFC?
No, it's not KFC.
It's not KFC.
It's something to do with coffee. Yeah, there you go. It's Coffee Bean, really. So they had a problem. The problem they had is they used to manage their loyalty points on a pink card. I'm sure all of us would have come across the pink card at one point. So because it's manual and none of that is digitized, it was prone to abuse. The solution, what we did is to digitize the entire process. From the time they tell us what their name is, what their date of birth is, what their phone number is, to the time, every time you buy coffee, everything is recorded digitally. So what it enabled the business to do is to understand what the customers are doing and also help them understand what the customers are not doing. What is selling, what is not selling. And we did a little bit of data analytics to widely discover the patterns that would otherwise have been made over a gut decision, right? So these are there are many more examples in the best interest of time. These are like very high level examples of what the best cases of digitalization in Brunei is.
So even from a commercial angle, Brunei has started to digitalize, and it's not all government pushing, right? There are some questions here on Slido, and I will refer them to you, gentlemen, remotely later on. But I'd like to continue this conversation with Rahman about high digital penetration rates. We often hear that for every Bruneian, there is 1.1 person on Facebook. So there are more Bruneians on Facebook than there are actually Bruneians, and that's what we call a high digital penetration rate, right? But something that we've been talking about and thinking about for a long time now is everyone can use Instagram, but not many people can build something like Instagram. Why is that so? Is there a gap in our workforce?
Right. So when it comes to digital products, there is two broad categories. One is digital consumption, the other one is digital creation. So us as a country in general, we are extremely good at digital consumption, high internet penetration rate. Everybody has a smartphone. We are super digital literate. There is barely anybody who has not interacted with one smartphone in one way or the other. But where we can make some headway and progress is in terms of digital creation. So places like Silicon Valley and parts of Estonia that was being talked earlier, places like South Korea, they built an ecosystem that incentivizes creators to solve a problem. So Instagram did not start as a billion-dollar company. It started off as someone wanting to do something about their own daily problem. So if we could build the ecosystem around that incentivizes the creators, then I think we would have a lot more creation coming out of Brunei on top of digital consumption.
So an ecosystem that incentivizes individual creativity. And as you are speaking, Rahman, I'm looking behind us. Shanko and Kamal are nodding their heads as you speak. So I'd like to invite Kamal first to share a little bit of his thoughts about what Rahman had mentioned earlier on about ecosystems that incentivizes personal creativity.
Yes, you see, if there is no motivation and incentivization, it is very difficult to have digital transformation. So, and I completely agree with Rahman on this. So, very important, as a part of digital transformation, enterprises have to adopt solutions that integrate each other, connect each other seamlessly. And you have department heads and actual human beings who are responsible to getting things done. Therefore, that motivation is extremely, extremely important.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Kamal. Let's move over to Shanko. Shanko, you were also nodding your head, but a little bit more subtly than Kamal. So do you agree or disagree with what Rahman has said?
Yes, fully agree. So just to share, domestically here in Singapore, we have all different kind of corporate innovations, government-initiated innovation challenge, open innovation platform going on. And a lot of startups and entrepreneurs actually participate in this kind of activities to work with the corporates. And yeah, so even for the government initiated one, the problem statement are actually coming from the big corporates or organizations. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Shanko. Now, there are some questions on Slido, and I have a feeling that this one is for you, Kamal. Which part of the retail value chain will most benefit from automation? And does Brunei have the key infrastructure in place to support it?
Yeah, that's a very fair question. So in retail, the points are most important. You know, how quickly you are able to sell. The most important piece in retail is a single view of inventory. What that means is you may have multiple channels by which you are selling. Taking Rahman's example, you may have an organization that is selling online. It can be selling offline on store. But you would like a single view of inventory at one place so that you can take decisions much more faster. And to do that, many different solutions that the companies are using has to be integrated together. So that piece, I believe, is the most important piece for a retail, in a retail environment.
Sure. So it sounds like the real impediment here really isn't technology, it's people agreeing on how to build it.
Technology is there, but how you consume technology is not. That knowledge is not. So you have very large systems in place, but that does many, many things. But as a company or as a business, you may only use maybe 30% of Oracle or SAP, right? But why do you want to buy the entire massive solution? Just buy the solution that you can use to transform your business and pay for just the value that you can use. So that essentially is a very important piece of transformation here.
I like how our panelists are all in agreement but not in the same room. As you are speaking, Kamal, I see Shanko nodding his head and Rahman nodding his head as well. But I don't have time to look at what the audience is doing. Shanko, this one is for you. What are the typical productivity gains in agriculture from the deployment of sensors such as yours?
Okay, so this one is a very good question. We have been figuring out, and many customers ask the same question as well. So if they say they implement the solution, what is the ROI? So it has been proven that just by simple soil moisture and automatic irrigation, it can help to save water by at least 25%. And because of a well-maintained irrigation regime, the plants will grow much better, and you do expect to achieve more than 30% of product output. Yeah.
Thank you, Sanko. At this point in time, I'd like to ask the floor, do you have any questions that you would like to ask in public and not on Slido? Counting, going once, twice, gone. Let's come to the next question that I find very interesting here on Slido. And I'd like all three of you to answer, but let's start with Rahman, and then we'll move on to Kamal, and then subsequently Sanko. Which is this question says, what are the impediments for your companies to introduce these solutions in the Brunei market? So obviously we'll go with the logical one. Rahman, you operate in Brunei. So what are some of the challenges that you have in introducing these kind of solutions locally?
When we first started off our company about 4 years ago, we started introducing solutions in the smallest way possible. We started building prototypes and MVPs instead of full-on going into a full-blown solution. In terms of impediments, we have not had much of a problem. It also, at that point in time, we were dealing with mostly SMEs and startups. So the impediments started to come in once we started serving enterprises and civil service institutions, because they have policies that we have to comply. One of the main impediments is access to cloud, because every organization will have their own cloud policy. And so we have to work around that. But those differences are slowly disappearing. And moving forward, there should be no barrier of friction in introducing new solutions into the market. And what is more interesting is the public are a lot more open to consuming new services if they are positioned and marketed properly.
Thank you, Rahman. That's from a local perspective. Kamal, you've also had a quick study of what our Brunei market looks like. Any thoughts from your end?
Yes, sure. We have studied the Brunei retail market in detail. There are no impediments as such, but when you look at the Brunei retail market, it's a very small market. It's around $500 million in revenue, so it's really, really small. But there are very interesting small size retailers. So you don't need very large solutions for Brunei. So for example, we were initially thinking of bringing our massive, Ivan Retail, which is a very large solution, but that may not work because the format of stores are small. So we are now bringing in a much smaller retail solution, which is fully cloud-based in Microsoft Azure, and that will be very easily consumed by a small retailer. So that's essentially what we are doing. As far as your question is concerned on impediment, I do not see any impediment to get into the Brunei market as such.
Thank you, Kamal. And now we close off this question with Sanko.
Okay, so I think because for my side, we are mainly dealing with B2B, so we need to find the right partner to work on a small problem statement first, and then to start with a POC to let the customer to experience what digitization can really benefit them. And from the other aspect is, I think as a young company, we do have issues of going overseas and without local support. So we need to partner with the local companies to do the support and commissioning and technology transfer to let a local company to run the whole thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Sanko. The last question. I promised my friends over at AITI that would be the last question, but I lied. Sorry, AITI. This last one is, I think, important for us to understand. Rahman, from a local Bruneian perspective, what is the next step for us in this process of digital transformation?
Digital transformation, as it is said many times, it's not a destination, it's an ongoing journey. So I just like to introduce two simple concepts to you as a key takeaway from the session. Number one, if you have read The Atomic Habits by James Clear, please put up your hand. Anybody have come across? Yeah, so few hands, correct. So what James Clear basically says is, if we try to be 1% better than what we are today, over a 365-day period, we would become 38% better. So at the end of the year, you're 1/3 completely a different person, right? But if we don't try to improve 1% every day, then we are worse off than what we are today. So it's not even flat. Either we improve or we go negative. So I was thinking, like, what if we took this concept and we applied it to digitization, right? So how would that look like? Is that if you are doing your business or your data collection or any forms in a paper, try to go to the next possible step, which is doing it in an Excel sheet or in a spreadsheet. So that's a seamless, inexpensive, straightforward transformation. It's still digital, right? There's nothing wrong with that. If your business largely runs on Excel sheets and spreadsheet, try to introduce a small little system. How you can introduce a small system is to identify what are the 1 or 2 processes without which your department or your business wouldn't exist. So you don't have to think about HR, you don't have to think about administrative function, finance functions. Those can continue to exist as it is. As a key catalyst for transformation, identify 1 or 2 processes that are absolutely crucial, and then try to transform those, put it in a small little system. So 2 concepts: try to get your business 1% better every day, and try to make the smallest step possible towards your digitization journey. And these are usually inexpensive, and in the case of SMEs, it's usually free, because there are many, many tools available out there.
Thank you, Rahman. And thank you to all my panelists. Now, finally, Kamal, Sangguo, and Rahman, where can people find you if they would choose to? Let's start with Sangguo. Is there a website or an email address that we can find you and reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. So we have a website, scnet.sg. You can connect to me via LinkedIn, and and can send me email, can give me a call. I think Brunei and Singapore is very well connected. Yeah.
Thank you, Sangguo. And Kamal, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can look me up on LinkedIn, or just come to the website ivend.com, ivend.com. Please feel free. Anytime.
Thank you, Kamal. And yourself, Rahman?
You can find me on stage. Or just look up our company, Think Access Solutions. I'm also available on LinkedIn.
Thank you. I had something funny to say, but he took it away from me. Thank you all very much. Time for lunch.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Kamal. Thank you, Sangguo.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
We have now come to the end of the morning session, as we will break for Friday prayers. We shall resume at 2:30 this afternoon with Yang Mulia Ms. Suzanawati Haji Suharju, the CEO of Emergence Sendirian Berhad. Thank you, and we will see you again later.